Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-dee. Come on, get happy. Come on, get happy. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Farzy Show. My name is Mark Farzetta, and this program is presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Here it is. For the people on the podcast right now, I'm showing the Eagles injury report from yesterday. Yes, Jalen Hurts' name is on it, but next to his name, it still says, unfortunately, concussion, and it still says left finger, but it also says LP for limited participant. Great news we got yesterday from head coach Nick Sirianni when he said, yeah, he'll be out there today. Eagles practice over at the Lincoln Financial Field. They did not practice at the NovaCare Complex because the NovaCare Complex field was frozen. So they went over to the Lincoln Financial, and there is Jalen Hurts slinging it, rolling out, participating, limited, though, in practice. Now, today is the official day where he get officially cleared to actually play against the Packers. Everything is trending in that direction. We have been following the bouncing ball this entire time when it comes to Ian Book being released, when it comes to Kellen Moore saying that he's had communication with his quarterback about taking on the Green Bay Packers defense, and when it comes to Jalen Hurts at least being at the practice facility on Friday of last week. So everything trending in the right direction. Yesterday, Nick Sirianni, here's what he had to say about his quarterback, including rust and the possibility of it with his franchise guy.
Yeah, he'll be out there today. We'll get you the injury report after practice. We'll see how it goes, but we'll get you the injury report after practice today.
With Jalen missing most of the 3 games, are you worried at all about rust with him?
No, I think I answered this, to somebody, I can't remember who, earlier this week. This is why you practice. This is why you go through the process of practicing and all the things that you do at practice to get on the same page, to do everything there. We feel like we practice at a very high intensity level. This is why you go out there and do those things.
This is why we lift them weights. I am very happy about Jalen Hurts being back. For me, as I've told you this entire time, rust is a bit of an issue. It's something that is haunting my brain. And I'm not taking the Packers lightly. And unfortunately, of all the good things that have happened in the last couple days to hint at the idea of Jalen Hurts being officially cleared today for round 1 of the playoffs against the Packers, I can't help but think, the Packers were 7.5-point underdogs going into Dallas last year in the first round of the playoffs, and they took on the Dallas Cowboys, and they took it to the Dallas Cowboys, despite being 7.5-point favorites, and Matt LaFleur and company they put together a phenomenal game plan. Phenomenal game plan against the against the Cowboys. And the Packers absolutely executed with great perfection in that game. So I'm not taking this team lightly. However, one thing that I do look at is the line. The Packers 7.5-point underdogs in Dallas last year. They're still 4.5-point underdogs against the Eagles now. Now, we'll see if the sports books put Jalen Hurts or allow Jalen Hurts to give that line an extra point or 1.5. But remember, this game opened at 3 in favor of the Eagles and is now only at 4.5, and it's been 4.5 really since Monday morning. So that's not exactly trending in the right direction. I would hope it would have bounced up. Maybe it will today, but I doubt the sports books are like you and me, waiting for a practice report to come out. They're getting that information a little bit sooner because I certainly believe they're in cahoots with the NFL. For all the people that don't think they are, I think they are. But yeah, still 4.5-point favorites are the Eagles against the Packers, and I'm hoping Jalen Hurts by Friday helps boost that number just a little bit for the Philadelphia Eagles' favor. As far as crispness, as far as accuracy, as far as being locked in, Lane Johnson had a lot of great things to say about his quarterback being back out there. Devontae Smith was a little tight-lipped on the situation, but we'll let you hear from him a little bit later in the show. They did ask Cam Jurgens yesterday how Jalen looked, and I love when they ask the center how Jalen looked. He was like, everything's behind me. I don't know. Like, why asking me? But we'll give you the information from the locker room as to how they felt their quarterback looked, so we'll get into that. The 76ers, and also Jalen Hurts' impact on Saquon Barkley. If you remember, this is something that gets talked about a lot, but some people just push it aside for I don't know why, but they just pushed it aside. The impact Jalen Hurts has on the run game, not overall like rushing numbers, but just the run game in terms of giving the ball to Saquon Barkley and how much better Saquon Barkley is when Jalen Hurts is under center or in shotgun as the Eagles quarterback. So we'll get into that because they were a little bit more than I even anticipated, the uptick when Jalen Hurts is at quarterback for the Eagles versus anyone else that's played quarterback so far this season. So we'll get into that. And then last night, no Joel Embiid, no Paul George for the 76ers. Okay. Eric Gordon gets put in the starting lineup for the 76ers. I'm like, this is interesting. So still, one of your better bench guys is now in the starting lineup after a night where your bench was absolutely god-awful against the Phoenix Suns. And then the Philadelphia 76ers take on the worst team in the NBA in the Washington Wizards. And the Washington Wizards did not have Malcolm Brogdon, Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey playing in this game last night. They led in the fourth quarter with 90 seconds remaining in the game. They led. Sixers were up as much as 16 in this game. They opened up the fourth quarter, allowing the Wizards to go on a 19-8 run and take a lead. And meanwhile, the Sixers were turning the basketball over, which was a huge problem for the Wizards throughout the game. The Sixers actually got 27 points off 18 turnovers for the Washington Wizards. And then in the fourth quarter, there's about a 6 to 8 minute mark or 6 to 8 minute run where the Sixers could do no right and the Wizards could do no wrong. So this led to Tyrese Maxey and Gershon Yabusele all of a sudden having to pull a win out their old behinds against the Wizards of all teams. And Jared Butler, who had a career-high 26 points. The Sixers escaped, which was not an adjective, a verb I wanted to use to describe the game against the Wizards. The Sixers had to escape. The Sixers had to survive a surge from the Washington Wizards. Joel Embiid not playing. Paul George has not been good this year. Let's not play. He hasn't been very good this year. And the Sixers had to escape the Wizards. That's terrible. Somebody in the postcast that I was doing, it was crazy. It was my man Crazy in the chat last night. It was like, that was the worst win of the season. And that's what I like to describe. And you guys have heard me say this before. There are no moral victories, but there are sure as hell moral losses. And that was a moral loss last night. I am happy they won. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a must win, but it was a gotta win. You gotta win this game. And that's what it was last night for the Sixers. Unfortunately, they still won. And now they're 5 games under 500. They got the Pelicans coming to town tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And then there was a little nugget dropped in I saw from Keith Pompey as part of I think it was the pregame press conference. Yeah, pregame press conference with Nick Nurse where he hinted at Joel Embiid playing in back-to-back games. What? Yeah. Now, if you remember, before the season, Joel Embiid said, I hope I don't play, I'm not going to play in back-to-backs. So I'm like, okay. And then later in the season, he says, well, I'm a troll, so I'll be a troll and tell you that maybe I will play in back-to-backs. Okay. And then, most recently, the Sixers did not have him play in a back-to-back where it was Utah and that other team. Utah and the Warriors. He didn't play in the first one of that, but he played in the second one against the Warriors. I had those hollow numbers. Anyway, so that's what went down last night with the 76ers, and we'll see what happens in the not-too-distant future when it comes to Joel Embiid playing in back-to-backs. I'm not going to get excited about that. Maybe he might play in one. As a troll would say, he would first tell you he's not going to do it. Then he'd troll you further by saying, maybe I'll do it. And then Nick Nurse is like very vague. He said, yeah, Joel Embiid, we hope to get these guys, playing back-to-backs, sooner rather than later. Like, oh, okay. All right. Well, it's beautiful to dream. It's beautiful to dream. God bless you. God bless you. All right. So yesterday, the Eagles go over to Lincoln Financial Field. all the cameras are out there for getting that, B-roll of Jalen Hurts being out there on the practice field. And again, to reiterate, he was out there last Friday, not practicing, but he was just there, which is good. He was at the team facility. Great. One step closer to being cleared from out of concussion protocol. So you see him out there. He's doing his rollouts. He's passing. He's practicing is what he's doing. Limited, but practicing. He looks good. You can see his face. They got close-ups of him. It didn't look like he was concussed as much as you could tell from that. It wasn't terrible. So let's hear from the guys that were actually catching passes from him. First and foremost, let's hear from Devontae Smith and what he had to say about Jalen Hurts' performance in practice.
And how do you think he felt out there?
You had to ask him how he felt. In my eyes, it looked good.
And I think everyone is a little worried about the timing, him just not playing for a couple of weeks. Do you expect that to even be an issue this week?
It'll be all right. We'll figure it out.
I love the confidence. I love it. It's great. And they've certainly played enough games together. Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, all that. Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra at this point. They've played enough games together and all that. For Dallas Goedert, unfortunately, they haven't played together, him and Jalen Hurts, in quite some time. However, I would not be as worried about chemistry, timing, or whatever had it not been for the Panthers game. And this has been my stance for the last 3 weeks. The fact that Panthers game happened, two things give me pause about this game. One, it's that the Packers did what they did in Dallas last year in the first round of the playoffs, and they were even bigger underdogs in that one. That's one thing that gives me pause. The second thing that gives me pause is that Jalen Hurts has thrown 4 passes in 3 weeks. He's had 1 completion in 3 weeks. He's played 11 snaps in 3 weeks. And to follow this, they played like crap against the Panthers. Then they corrected it against the Steelers. Then Jalen Hurts threw 4 passes, and that was that. Then we haven't seen him. So to use the word the reporter used, and I've used this a lot, atrophied. How do you make sure that part of the game, the passing game, doesn't atrophy to the point where A.J. Brown feels the need to say, oh, yeah, of all the things we need to work, we need to work on passing. We need to work on the passing game. Oh, interesting. Hey, Jalen, how'd the passing game look? Out of sync. Nobody was in sync. We were all out of sync. Oh, okay. The playoffs are right around the corner. Still trying to wrap up the division. Still trying to wrap up at least a 2 seed. And passing game at this point in the year is bad against a Panthers team at home? What? Then they have the good game there against the Steelers, and then injuries. The injuries set in with Jalen Hurts, the concussion set in against Washington. So that's concerning. That's concerning for me. The two things that really give me pause about this game, although I'm confident the Eagles will win, but from the angle of the other team gets paid too, they did pretty damn well in Dallas last year, and Jalen Hurts hasn't played in 3 weeks. And he hasn't played in 3 weeks after 1 good game that immediately followed a very bad game. So I don't think things just all of a sudden get in sync. Now, you heard from Nick Sirianni, doesn't expect rust. You heard from Devontae Smith, we'll be fine. I would expect that to be Devontae Smith's attitude, and quite frankly, I appreciate it. And if I was Devontae Smith, that would be my attitude as well. Now, Lane Johnson provided the most comfort in the locker room yesterday. Here he is when he was asked about Jalen being out of practice yesterday.
Sharp today. He looked really good.
What's different about this team when he's there?
Man, you just have a very dynamic player. Obviously can make all the throws, but when he's in their package as a part of a run game, he puts defenders in a bind and makes it a lot more difficult for them.
He certainly makes it a lot more difficult for them. And this is what I was alluding to earlier. I saw these numbers on ESPN. Saquon Barkley with Jalen Hurts on the field versus off the field. When Jalen Hurts is on the field, they've had 676 snaps together. That's a nice amount. Off the field, without Jalen Hurts, they've only had 100. Found that interesting. With Jalen Hurts on the field, I thought he'd be like 0.3 of a yard better with Jalen Hurts. He's a full yard better with Jalen Hurts per carry. 6 yards per carry with Jalen Hurts as his quarterback versus 5. Yards to touchdowns, 6.3 to 4.9. 15% 10 or more yard plays percentage, 15% versus 10%. That's a nice uptick. And you know what that comes in? You know what that is? I'll tell you what that is. That comes in, like, for instance, when Kenny Pickett came in and played against the Washington Commanders, there was a play at the goal line where they actually ran an RPO. And because nobody gives a damn about Kenny Pickett and the RPO, they just go right after Saquon Barkley. Every time. They don't even put it in their head that Kenny Pickett's going to pull the ball out, or Kenny Pickett's going to pull and run, pull and pass, or he's going to pull and run, or anything like that. They just go after Saquon Barkley. And there were 2 stops at the goal line where that played out. If it's Jalen Hurts, the edge rusher, as we should all know by now, anyone who survived the Chip Kelly era should know this by now, you got to take that extra second, half second, split second, whatever, to diagnose whether or not, is the quarterback keeping it or is it going to the running back? Oh, it's Kenny Pickett. If it's Jalen Hurts, I got to assess the situation. But being that it was Kenny Pickett, just go right for Saquon. And that's where he gets taken out of the backfield. So that's where Jalen Hurts certainly helps to run a full yard more with Jalen Hurts as the quarterback. Now, that's what Saquon Barkley averages, a full yard more with. The fact that he's still averaging 5 yards a carry without him is still pretty damn good. But when it goes to just Jalen Hurts and his performance, this is the word that stuck out to me the most from Lane Johnson when he was addressing the media yesterday. The word is crisp.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously been limited, physically with some of the stuff he can do, but I think he's been dialed in with what's coming up, who we're playing in Green Bay. So, today we had our first practice back with him. He was crisp, efficient, and, we had a great practice.
Crisp. I like a crisp. I like that. I don't know what the Packers are going to have in store for the Eagles, but they're still going to have Xavier McKinney, who has just been picking off passes left and right this season. I know they're not going to have Jair Alexander. They're going to have Edgerrin Cooper, who put together for himself a really solid rookie season, 13 tackles for loss. If you remember, that was the one guy that I went, I'm happy they got Cooper DeJean. But if there's anybody that I think we're going to look back on with revisionist history, it might be Edgerrin Cooper. And then turns out Vic Fangio knows more than a lot of people, including myself. And he knew what he had in Zach Bond. And it looks like the Eagles and Howie Roseman knew exactly what they had or getting in Cooper DeJean. But he was the one guy that gave me pause, but still solid linebacker, played very well through his rookie season here for the Packers. But turnovers are going to be the big deciding factor in all of this. If things aren't crisp, if things are rusty, then that 4.5-point line is going to show exactly why it exists. And no more, no less. And that 3-point line that things started at, which is even Stevens for the home team there, that's going to show why that exists. It's because of the turnovers and potential rust with the offense. Now, you could always, the thing that ultimately gives me confidence that this team's going to win, that the Eagles are going to beat the Packers, is that you could always just default to the run game. And you get back to the dominance of this run game with Saquon Barkley and this offensive line. And the fact that in his first game with the Eagles, he still put up over 100 yards against the Packers in Brazil in crappy field conditions. So that gives me a lot of confidence that the Eagles are going to win the game. The most confidence comes down to the running game and this offensive line. So even if there is some rust or some cobwebs, and we've seen guys not play for 6 months and just go through training camp, not play in the preseason, and then all of a sudden they come out in the regular season, they might have a crappy first half, and then in the second half they turn it on. They might have a bad first quarter, and then the last 3 quarters they turn it on. You shouldn't need a lot. And sometimes, albeit for injury, sometimes getting away from it for a minute, when you come back, you're fresh, you're crisp, you're accurate. And look, accuracy for me with Jalen Hurts hasn't been a thing this year. He's had his best completion percentage of his career this season. He's had his highest passer rating of his career this season. So for me, accuracy and all that can go out the window. But when you come off a game like the Panthers, then you only have one good game, and then we don't see you for essentially 3 games, despite with the exception of 11 snaps. That is obviously a little bit of a cause for concern. That could very easily go away in the first series. If Jalen Hurts takes this team down the field in their opening drive and is crisp, is efficient. That's another word that Lane Johnson used there, efficient. If he could do all that, then I'm not nearly as concerned. It could be wiped away in one beautiful first possession for the Eagles. But I am certainly not taking this Packers team lightly. And one of the things, and we'll get into this more tomorrow when we preview the game entirely, but it's the big plays. The Eagles have been the best team in the NFL in preventing 20-plus yard plays. So big plays. Okay, that's how they define it. Splash plays is a word that Nick Sirianni will use. The Packers are the best team in the NFL at giving up or at causing splash plays. The good news for the Eagles here, and again, no way is this rooting for injury, but their best big play, best splash play guy is not playing in Christian Watson. Now, they have other guys that can certainly do it. Josh Jacobs can certainly break off big runs, no doubt about that. But the biggest culprit that the Eagles would be facing with that is Christian Watson. He's not going to be available. So that's a check mark for the Eagles in this game. But when you look on down the list, they have a good offensive line. Eagles have a great offensive line. I think they have a very good quarterback. I think they have a good quarterback. I think the Eagles have a very good quarterback. Unsure of what you could get from a 3-week layoff. I'm also unsure what you're going to get from Jordan Love. They said it was just precautionary that they took him out. He said he had a numbness in his throwing hand. At least Jalen Hurts' injury in his hand is not to his throwing hand. But this is his throwing elbow. Could that get tweaked again? One bad hit. Does he get reset? If I'm a Packers fan, that's how I'm looking at it. Going, all right, I have a little bit of cause of concern here when my quarterback has an injury to his elbow that apparently made his pinky go numb. Not great. Not ideal. They're going to have to rely on the run. The Eagles are pretty damn good at stopping the run. The Packers also, one thing that really jumps out to me about the Packers, about a negative thing for them and a good thing for the Eagles, like the Packers, their best win is against the Rams. Like, they haven't beaten the Vikings. They didn't beat the Lions. Those are the upper echelon teams in the NFC East, or excuse me, in the NFC. And the Packers struggled in their own division with those teams. So they face the upper echelon teams. Ooh, no bueno. No bueno. Well, guess what they're going to face when they come to Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday? They're going to face an upper echelon team. They haven't done it all year. I don't expect them to do it again. I don't expect them to start against the Eagles. Now, I don't know where this comes from. And is this a thing? Are people still concerned about last year with the Eagles? Because Lane got asked this question yesterday, and I don't understand it. There is nothing in my brain that makes me look at this Eagles team and compare it to last year. This Eagles team won 10 straight games, then they lost, and then they won again. What about that? And then they won again. Like, what about this team makes you think of last year's team? There's no collapse. There's no 1-5 in your last 6 games, including the playoffs. You had a 10-game winning streak, lost, then had a 2-game winning streak. And the one loss, you had your franchise guy for 11 snaps. Where's the comparison? So if this still exists in some people's mind, I play this for you to hopefully squash that. Lane Johnson yesterday was asked what's different going into the playoffs this year versus last year. Let me just take a crack at it. You don't suck. Last year you sucked. Last year you fired a defensive coordinator. When you were 10-3. You had a wide receiver that wasn't talking to the media for a while. You didn't lose to Jonathan Gannon's Cardinals, for crying out loud. Big Dom didn't get banished from the sideline. Think of everything that went into last year's collapse. Hey, what's different? So again, the question was, what's different from this year's team going into the playoffs versus last year's team? Lane Johnson on that.
Well, we're not on a 6-game losing streak, whatever it was. But no, momentum is definitely on our side this year. Whether I feel like we're coming together more than probably what we were last year. I feel like the team was kind of in disarray and in the state of that really heading into the playoffs. So I feel like guys are confident, we're loose, but we're remaining with what got us here, and that's practicing hard and how we do things every day, and all that stuff carries over.
Yeah, I don't like if you think about last year, this team was a rudderless ship. I mean, if you like an absolute hitting an iceberg to keep it nautical, okay? I don't know if, and I hope I never have to see a season like that. The only thing, and I was young for it, but Kotite, what were they, 7-1 or something? And Kotite's like, I need a contract. I need a contract extension. And then they lost like 7 in a row. And I was like, you don't get a contract extension. That's pretty bonkers. That's a pretty epic collapse. It's a pretty epic collapse. Phillies almost had an epic collapse this year. But again, keep it in football. Last year was a horrific. You couldn't put your finger on one thing that was bad. It was everything was bad. And it wasn't just the collapse. Like the thing that I really look at last year, and this is something I don't pay attention to too much, but when I saw it last year, it's something that really caught my attention, so to speak. The Eagles this year are one of the best teams in the NFL in point differential. Now, you can say that easily because they're at 14 wins. Of course, they're going to be outscoring opponents. But the Detroit Lions get all the credit in the world for just poop cannon teams throughout the season. All right, they're 15-2. They're a plus 222 in point differential. That's controlling games. The Eagles this year were behind them by a pretty big gap. They were at 160. All right, plus 160 is what the Eagles were at last year or this year in point differential. Last year, the Eagles were nowhere near that. Last year, the Philadelphia Eagles were god awful in that category. They went from 157, did I say that? 157 this year to last year, they were plus 5. Should be 160. The Bills were 157. Bills and Ravens 157. Last year, the Eagles were plus 5. Last year, they were plus 5. This year, they were plus 160. Now, why does that matter? It matters because of this. It matters because the Eagles never controlled games last year. Never controlled games last year. Two wins of 10 or more points. The year they went to the Super Bowl, they had 6 wins of 10 or more points. Like, that's controlling games. That's not eking out wins. The thing that I love so much, one of the things I love so much about this season versus last season is I haven't said this phrase. Well, they found a way to win. Last year, it was every game, with the exception of the Vikings game and Dolphins game. No, sorry, Bucks game and Dolphins game. You won by 10 plus points. Those are the only games where, they found a way to win. No, you didn't say that then. Every other win, they found a way to win. They just found a way to beat the Commanders. They just found a way. Was it Sam Howell? They just found a way to beat him. This year, we haven't said that. You can say that for maybe a game here and there, but when that becomes the mantra, the motto, the norm of a season, you're not that good. And that was kind of my vibe on the Eagles all season last year. Like, there was never a point, even at 10-1, there was never a point where I thought, oh, this team's got it. Oh man, they got it. No, there's never a point. This year, I felt like that. And the number one reason I felt like that is because Saquon Barkley only went on to have a historically amazing season. But you haven't noticed that. You haven't seen that this year from the Philadelphia Eagles. They've controlled games. And, oh, by the way, they also won 14 games. And they closed out the season strong. I mean, 14-3 is a pretty damn good record. I never got the sense, even when they talked about the passing game, it was still after a win. Like, Jalen Hurts had a really bad game. He had 3 touchdowns in that game. Previous game, I forget who that was against. Panthers Ravens. No, it wasn't the Ravens game. I think it was just the Panthers game. I love games where Jalen Hurts has 3 touchdowns and he sucks. But the passing game, this is an example where the numbers never lie, but they do deceive. If you look at Jalen Hurts' line, you go, wow, 14 to 21 in that Panthers game, 108 yards, only 5.1 yards per attempt for him. And he was sacked 4 times. His QBR was 69, nice. And his passer rating was 110 in that Panthers game. But if you watch the game, you go, oh no, that was very discombobulated. Very discombobulated. 4 catches for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. 8 total, obviously, combined. Then 3 for Grant Calcaterra, 2 for Kenny Gainwell, 1 for Jahan Dotson. That was it. That was terrible. That's not a good game. That's not spreading the ball around. Saquon went off for 124 yards in that game. Did not have a reception. He was targeted once. But you watch the game, you can't tell me that Jalen had a good game. Numbers aren't terrible. I mean, if I show you a 110 passer rating, go, oh, that's pretty good. But that does not tell the whole story. But you have guys on this team that have that familiarity. You hope the time away somehow for Jalen Hurts, other than just getting healthy, is beneficial to him. And when he gets back on the field with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Saquon Barkley and this offensive line, and now not just Dallas Goedert, but Dallas Goedert the receiver, Dallas Goedert the run blocker, Dallas Goedert max protection, and also Grant Calcaterra is another option to throw the football to. And, hey, Jahan Dotson, look, last week's game for Jahan Dotson was great, but I don't expect that to all of a sudden put Jahan Dotson on the map of Jalen Hurts. If he's open and he's got him, hit him. Hopefully that's how it works. But I don't expect, Jahan Dotson could now get you 90 yards in this game. Oh, yeah, it could, theoretically, but I'm not betting on it by any means. Just hit the open receiver. Favorite receiver, as Steve Young used to say, favorite receiver is the open receiver. So just get the ball to him as fast as possible. So that's what I'm looking at as far as this Packers game comes up Sunday, 4:30. I'm still expecting the Eagles to win. And I wouldn't be shocked if that line still did crawl up just a little bit in the Eagles' favor, maybe to 5.5 points, which is about what I would expect it to be. So I wouldn't be shocked if by tomorrow that jumps up to 5.5, if especially Jalen Hurts gets officially cleared later on today. Before I go any further, did you watch Sixers game last night? Did you have it on in the background? I know Villanova was on. The Cavs played last night against Oklahoma City. That was a wild game. There's some good stuff on TV last night. Some good games to watch. But the 76ers are a team that I watch every day or every game. And I know I asked you yesterday whether or not you cared. I know a lot of people didn't. But this would go into the favor of why people have allowed apathy to set in. Joel Embiid's again not available for another injury. This one's a left foot sprain. Maybe he can go tomorrow against the Pelicans. Paul George is dealing with a groin injury. You still have Andre Drummond sidelined. Jared McCain most likely done for the season. And the Sixers are coming off a game where their bench was absolutely terrible. 54-7, they got outscored on the bench. They elevate Eric Gordon from the bench to the starting lineup. Gershon Yabusele is your starting center because you don't have Embiid and you don't have Drummond. Adem Bona is just not ready for them reps yet. Eric Gordon's in the starting lineup. So you have Maxey, Gordon, Oubre, Caleb Martin, and Gershon Yabusele. Sixers come out and do exactly what they're supposed to do. They start dominating the game. Second quarter, things start to slip a little bit. Third quarter, they really kick it into high gear. Really look good. Really, really look good. And then in the fourth quarter, the Sixers start out allowing the Wizards to go on a 19-8 run. And they close the gap in that game to 3 points. The Sixers were up 16. And then with about 6 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they go on this huge run. The Wizards go on this huge run. And they close it to 96-93. Then the referees forget, and I'm not blaming the referees on this. This is the Sixers' fault. they shouldn't have allowed it to get this close. But then the referees just took the night off after that, or at least convinced themselves they had to make this game stay a game. So Sixers are up now just 3 points, 96-93. There's 5:32 remaining in the game. Is that where we're at? Yeah, 5:32 remaining. Kispert for the Wizards goes down, gets a layup. That's what makes it a 3-point game. Nick Nurse, rightfully so. It's a 7-0 run at this point, 19-8 at this point to open up the fourth quarter. Nick Nurse calls a timeout. The Sixers get the ball side out of bounds, their side of the court. Whatever Nick Nurse drew up, I am eagerly awaiting to see what the play is, what gets executed, and hopefully the Sixers getting a basket out of this to swing momentum back to them. They commit a cardinal sin in the world of basketball. After a timeout, side out of bounds play on their end of the court, the Sixers, out of that timeout, commit a shot clock violation. So you literally call timeout to set up something that will give you a high percentage chance of scoring to further squash any momentum established by the Wizards, who, again, are now within 3 points and on a 19-8 run to start off the fourth quarter. And you can't even get a shot off. You didn't even do the bare minimum. And I went back and I watched the play again. I went back on the DVR and I watched the play again. I was like, all right, let me see what they were trying to do here. And I looked at it. I was like, no idea. I don't even know what they're trying to do. So either Nick Nurse completely wet the bed and didn't communicate what he wanted to do, or what he wanted to do was crap, or the players, the third option, they just looked like they just didn't know what the hell they could do. Or they didn't know what the hell they were doing either. I do give credit. I will do a little hat tip there to the Wizards. Because the Wizards being down Jordan Poole yesterday, Sadiq Bey, Malcolm Brogdon as well. The Wizards, and they're the worst team in basketball anyway. The Wizards, they locked down. They really wanted to win this game, and they did everything they could to try to win this game down the stretch, including trapping Tyrese Maxey in that same play at half court. And he just threw it into – it was Yabusele at the foul line. Yabusele, I think, then kicked it out with 1 second left on the clock. Like, literally, he's getting rid of it. 1 second left on the shot clock. It goes to Eric Gordon, top of the key. He doesn't even get a shot off. Doesn't even leave his feet. Horn goes off. Goes the other way. Carrington gets a jumper, makes it 96-95. So it's a 1-point game. Maxey gets called for a push-off, and it was the right call. I'm not mad at it, but it was the right call. He pushed off. Goes the other way. Kispert hits the 3 with 4:25 left in the game. That gives the Wizards their first lead since the opening minutes of the game. Makes it a 99-98 game, 98-96 game in favor of the Wizards. Oubre goes down the other end, gets a dunk out of that, ties things up, and then this is where I just don't understand. This is where the refs, I thought, were completely – of all the things that people thought they got wrong, without question, this is what they got wrong, and they got 2 wrong on one sequence. The one play there with 3:26 remaining, 98-98, Tyrese Maxey gets a driving layup, puts it up off the backboard. Former process Sixer Rashawn Holmes comes in flying out of nowhere, blocks the ball off the back of the backboard there, and it goes the other way. Kelly Oubre blocks Rashawn Holmes' dunk from behind. He gets called for the foul. Now, the first part of that, Maxey's layup, it hit off the backboard and then got slapped by Rashawn Holmes. No goaltending called. In real time, I'm watching it going, that's goaltending. No whistles, goes down the other end. Oubre gets the block, and I go, good block. And then I hear the whistle. I went, am I losing my mind here? They go back, they show the replay of the Tyrese Maxey attempted layup. It was absolutely goaltending. The ball bounced off the backboard first, then was slapped by Rashawn Holmes. No call. Then they show the replay of the alleged Kelly Oubre foul. Clean block on Rashawn Holmes. Holmes goes to the line, makes 1 of 2, gives the Wizards a 1-point lead. Calibe, whatever, the French guy for the Wizards, he goes down, he knocks down a 3, goes up 101-98 in favor of the Wizards with a little over 2:30 remaining in the game. Gordon comes down the other end with 2 minutes remaining. He knocks down a 3, makes it 101-101. Kuzma gets a layup. This was the other controversial play. 90 seconds left in the game. Sixers miss on their end. Outlet pass to Kyle Kuzma. Kuzma, the pass is a little ahead of him, gets his hand out, knocks it down, gathers the basketball, puts it on the ground again, Euro step layup. 103-101 in favor of the Wizards. 90 seconds remaining in the game. Nick Nurse, the entire Sixers bench, the entire Wells Fargo Center, most likely all of South Philadelphia, and parts of France, probably because of Gershon Yabusele, lose their damn minds because they want a double dribble called. I thought if it was our guy, we wouldn't. That's not a double dribble. The ref's interpretation of the play most likely was that Kuzma didn't have control. He just touched the basketball. That doesn't mean he has control. So when the outlet pass was ahead of him, he just stopped it, which they're not counting as a possession. Then he could gather it, and then he could dribble. So that's what all three refs decided on that play. There's no way they're not all seeing that at the same time. Meanwhile, everybody goes bananas, and they don't call the double dribble. Sixers end up going down 103-101 with 90 seconds remaining. And then Tyrese Maxey, who only scored 8 points in the first half. 8 points in the first half on 3 of 13 shooting. 1 of 10 from beyond the arc. Tyrese Maxey gets back on the scoring train and gets en route to 21 points in the second half. He finished with 29 points in this game. 21 of those points coming in the second half. 5 of those points coming in the final, I think it was 90 seconds of the game. Maxey goes up there, makes both free throws. He gets a free throw opportunity, makes both free throws, ties it at 103-103. Maxey then gets a driving layup with about, I think it was like 30 seconds left in the game, makes it 105-103. Gershon Yabusele comes back on the, I like how Allah Abdelnabi called it on the game. Frenchman on Frenchman crime with the Bilal Kalube, I don't know, blocks his shot. So he comes up with a clutch block. Gershon Yabusele, one of 2 blocks he had on the night. They go down the other end. Gordon gets fouled, goes to the line on the possession, makes both free throws, 106-103. Maxey hits a free throw, makes it 107-103. And then Gershon Yabusele throws out a monster jam to help cap things off for the Sixers. He finishes with 21 points on the night. 21 points, 8 rebounds for Gershon Yabusele, as well as 2 blocks. And that clutch one down the stretch. There were 15 seconds left. A thing of beauty. Eric Gordon, 15 points. Kelly Oubre, 15 points. Gershon, 21. Maxey, 29, with 21 of those coming in the second half. It should have never been that close. But better a moral loss than an actual loss. So the Sixers win that one. They're 5 games under 500 now. And that's all I got on the Sixers. Moving on. Let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Want to go to the concert? Want to go to the comedy show? Game Time app's where it's at. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase. Let's not forget about Game Time picks either. On the Game Time app, you want to filter out all the fluff and just get right down to it, the best seats for the best prices, so you don't have to scroll through thousands of tickets. Just toggle the Game Time picks feature on the Game Time app, and you'll see all the best of the best seats at the best prices. You can also view your seat. You can see its vantage point before you buy it, and you can toggle the all-in pricing feature. You know what that does? That allows you to see the exact price you're paying upon checkout. So there's no sticker shock when you go, all right, let's check out, and then all of a sudden those $40 tickets are $50. What? Not on the Game Time app. No shock there. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. What time is it? Game time. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsStation.com. How about our man Brett at Sky Motorcars? SkyMotorcars.com. Check out Brett's amazing inventory at SkyMotorcars.com. The first thing I see when I look down at the chat from Brian Plummer. Sixers talk, yawn, back to sleep. Right? All right, let's get into the chat check officially. Wine, Niners wine. Hello. Sean Kilrain, what's popping? No limit TP. No limit P? No limit P. There you go. I'm ready for the playoffs. Let's effing go. Damn right. Sean Kilrain, Jalen Hurts going with no sleeves in yesterday's frigid cold weather. resonant with his offensive lineman. Jordan Mailata noted he walked to the bus in a tank top. The O lineman couldn't believe it. That's right. He did say that in his media session yesterday. April. Hello. Good morning, April. Sean Kilrain. They all like that mentality. Far as he bring the Packers 34-20. I'm going 34-20. You're very confident, Sean. So yesterday, I was a little establishment called Trader Joe's. Okay. And it's a regular Trader Joe's. And one of the nice gentlemen that works there just walks up to me and goes, 34-10 Eagles. I go, this was before the Jalen Hurts news. I was like, I love it. Wait for the Jalen Hurts news. He's like, I just think our defense is just too good. They don't have Christian Watson. I was like, I'm with you along those lines. Then I brought up Dallas last year, and he was like, yeah. But a lot of people are very confident about this game. That's the sense I get. And, Sean, you are very confident about this game. Sean Gillespie, good morning. James Alexander III, good morning. Eagles win 31-17. Okay, we're getting closer to where I'm at. I'm sorry, we just took a step back. You said 34-20, Sean. James Alexander saying 31-17. James Alexander. Sixers gave the Wizards momentum with all the turnovers. Yeah, late. The Wizards gave up, I think it was 18 turnovers. Sixers got 27 points out of those turnovers. Oh, my goodness gracious. Sean Gillespie's still nervous about Jalen being very rusty. Look, he could put that all out the way. Put it all out the way. Put it all out the way with one nice drive. Oh, my goodness gracious, ladies and gentlemen. John Cheeseborough, what's happening? Nice to see you. Jason A., hello. Sean Gillespie. Jeez. Long time. Welcome back. White Irish Wine. Sixers suck and are soft. You don't see real Philly teams doing load management. Philly tough doesn't apply to them Sixers. John Cheeseborough. Sean. Glad to be back. There's a lot of A's and W's and N's in that right there. Commander Janky. Hello. What Green Bay did in Dallas last year has zero bearing on this matchup. The Eagles need to be a better team on Sunday. That's the only thing that matters. Go Birds. Well, I agree. Like, generally, I agree. But what really amazed me about their performance last year in Dallas was the coaching. Like, they had a game plan. They were going to run it down their throat. They were going to control the clock. And they were going to just say, all right, good luck to you, Cowboys. That's how you beat that Cowboys team last year. The Eagles were not able to do that. The Packers at 7.5-point underdogs on the road went in and did that. That's coaching for me. It's also focus for a team that played above their heads in the postseason. People always talk about, and I'm talking about athletes. Athletes always talk about how different it is in the postseason. Well, that's a good example of it. Nobody had the Packers winning that game. Then they took it to the Cowboys. Absolutely took it to the Cowboys, and that's coaching. So that's one thing I do look on. Look, you can look at the season, obviously, the fact that they played each other week one and blah, blah, blah. These teams are different than they were week one, absolutely. But for me, it just shows not just the next level of playing and focus, and it shows the next level of game planning and coaching. And I look, the Eagles are by far the more talented team. The Eagles are the better team. The Eagles should win. And I do believe they will win. But I don't think you can ignore post-playoff performances when it's a similar scenario. Underdogs on the road against a team that no one's expecting you to beat. They've been there before. I don't think they're going to have the firepower to do it, but they've certainly been there before. April says, Cheese, welcome back. Cheese says, April, thank you. April says to Wine Niners Wine, every time there's Sixers talk, I just picture you flipping off the phone. That's great. John Cheeseborough, this season so far is exactly why I wondered why people trusted Daryl Morey. I hear that. They're 1-5 in their division. Is that the Packers? I think they are 1-5 in their division. John Cheeseborough, I think the Eagles are much better, both offensively and defensively, since week 1, with a better field. Better field than Brazil. This pass rush should have more success. Here's what I really look at last year, or excuse me, from that week 1 game to now. Obviously, well, first off, Saquon ran the ball well in that game. Still had 109 yards. But the thing that really jumps out to me is the defense. Zach Bond was just getting started. Nakobe Dean was just getting started. They gave you a good first impression as the linebackers of this team. The tackling has been a lot better. The press coverage has seemed to be less optional. The perfect example of that is going from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game where the Eagles just consistently gave you 7 yards of cushion to their receivers, and Baker Mayfield just said, thanks very much, and just dinked and dunked them down the field and got rid of the football in like a second and a half every single time. But the missed tackles in that game, the missed tackles in Green Bay, the missed tackles in the first 4 weeks of the season, really. And then the most obvious one is Cooper DeJean now being your nickel corner. As much as I love my man Avonte Maddox, Cooper DeJean's been incredible and absolutely bonkers incredible. So that's the couple of big things. Really, defensively is what jumps out to me the most about this Eagles team. Also, Jalen's been a lot more protective of the football. I think that goes without saying as well. John, she's really hesitant because last year's collapse. Me, I'm not. Yeah, I'm with you. Me and you are the same page there, John. Not worried about last year's collapse. Defense is the sure difference from last season. Shake my SMD Eagles. Yep. Sean Gillespie. The Sixers sucked before and with Morey. Go figure. Mind-numbing DC change last year. Yep. This year, they found a way to lose versus Atlanta and Washington. Yeah, I guess. I mean, the drops. Yeah. Tyler Costello. Hello. Eagles going to send the Packers packing. Pack them up. There you go. JB. Wow, this is how I know I'm old. Sixers need to go back to the Iverson era black jerseys. Maybe that would help. I would love it. In all honesty, I would love it. When they had those jerseys, I longed for the jerseys they have now, like their normal jersey, not the the Spectrum Series jerseys are cool. They're my favorite of all the, like the Rocky City Connect jerseys were just gray jerseys, and I'm like, that's dumb. The Boathouse Road jerseys, I was like, also dumb. But the Sixers Spectrum Series jerseys are awesome, and the Iverson era jersey, I would love to see come back. That'd be badass. That would be badass. See Joel Embiid in that jersey. You know, granted he would play. See Maxey in that jersey. That'd be pretty incredible. Bought 316. Good morning. Hello again. He better expect rust. I expect the same, similar to the 0-2 run. Hurts plays great this week, struggles next week. Oh, I don't like that. Sean Kilrain, Pro Football Focus graded Saquon Barkley as the 10th best running back this season. 10th? I did not see that. One thing that Pro Football Focus does, and this doesn't explain the Jordan Mailata not being a Pro Bowler thing, which is wild. By the way, the Players Association, not the AP, the official, but the Players Association named Saquon Barkley and Jalen Carter as all pros. So I found that interesting. But here's what's wild. Pro Football Focus doesn't care about the game, like the final stats. They care about individual. Now you might say, "Oh, well, you have 200 yards. How are you not, the best?" Well, it takes into consideration literally everything, and sometimes it makes sense. Like it really does factor in the ifs. For instance, if this player had this offensive line, would it be the same? If Derrick Henry was on the Eagles, would it be different? That kind of thing. it factors in yards after contact, Derrick Henry getting hit at the line versus Saquon Barkley running through a clean hole, stuff like that. So that's what Pro Football Focus does. But here's the thing. I don't really care because that's ultimately dealing in fantasy. I'm dealing in reality. And there's no running back and no offensive line I'd rather have than what the Eagles have right now. Mullet Alvarado. Hello. Oh, Jimmy Carter. Rest in peace. I've done Habitat for Humanity a few times in my life. That's a wild experience, man. They tell you, maybe I just wasn't paying attention. Let's lean on me not paying attention. Because if you think I have Family Guy brain now where I'm all over the place, man, you should have seen me in high school. I just remember they tell you, all right, well, so the person that's going to own the house, their down payment is working on the house. So in the group I was with, we would go and do this every once in a while. And I remember what the hell was it? I was in the basement. I think I was like cleaning up a basement. And it was like a dirt floor basement, old house being refurbished kind of thing. And I didn't realize that the person that was going to own the house was with us at the time. I thought, oh, we're here today because they can't be. That's what I thought. So I'm cleaning up the basement. Just here, you take this broom, idiot. Go to the basement. Thanks. And I go to the basement, and there's somebody down there, and they're like putting drywall up. And I'm just talking to this person, and I was like, "Wow, this person's gonna have a really nice house when it's done." I'm glad I didn't say anything terrible, like this house is a piece of crap. And they're like, "Oh, thank you." And my head shot around like, "Oh, you're the person who's gonna own this house." But it's a great experience. If you ever had an opportunity to do that, I think it was started by Jimmy Carter, or he championed the cause, whatever. But it's a phenomenal experience. Even if you have like no experience in construction, you can just help clean up. I did have one part where I helped hang drywall, so I am happy about that. That was later on. But yeah, Jimmy Carter, rest in peace. Dr. Fresh Time. Hello, 27-17 Birds. I like it. Eagles' run defense has slipped. It has towards the end of the season. McNabb was returning from injury in the first. 0-2 play. Yes, thank you. That's right. That was the broken ankle against the Cardinals where he was like 20 of 24 or 25. McNabb. The A.J. Feely year. And then he stunk versus Tampa, yeah. Habitat for Humanity, good for you. Hey, good for anybody who's done it. It's pretty awesome. Oh, shake my Miss Guzzi. Thank you. Running through a clean hole, Saquon? Yeah, you're damn right. Ooh. Afrado. Throughout the playoff run and Super Bowl, how many yards do you think he has? What, Barkley? 700? That'd be crazy. The house that Farsi built right here. That's funny. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great. Here you go, April. Habitat is great to work with. They are great. I love them. How many yards does Barkley have? I don't think he has 700. That'd be insane. I'm gonna say 500. I'm gonna go 500 on that. Let me look at this real quick, because now you got my wheels turning. So that's over 100 per game. If it gets to 500, 700 would be incredible. And if he's having that many rush yards in the game, odds are he's not going to be playing in that fourth quarter. Could you imagine that in the playoffs? Resting starters in the fourth quarter because it's a blowout. Holy Stromboli. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, that only went down a point. Eagles are favored by 4.5 right now. I'm looking at ESPN Bet. The over-under went down a point. It's not at 46.5 anymore. It's at 45.5. Meh, not crazy. I'm going to go 500. They make it to the Super Bowl, 500 yards for Saquon. Thanks for watching. Oh, Morning Rush brought to you by SkyBoat. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Let's get to the Morning Rush brought to you by SkyBoat Cars, SkyBoatCars.com. Sixers off tonight. They're back at it tomorrow night. Take on the Pelicans. That's going on at 7 o'clock in South Philly. Nick Nurse alluded to the idea in one of their back-to-backs, maybe all the back-to-backs, that they might have Paul George and Joel Embiid still participating. Cross my fingers for that. Flyers at 17, 19, and 5. 17, 19, and 5 on the season. They're taking on the Dallas Stars tonight in South Philly. 7 o'clock puck drop. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hopefully the officially clearing of Jalen Hurts today. Thanks, everyone. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. That's Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Farzy Show YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel as well. My name is Mark Farzetta. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow morning here for the Farzy Show. See you then. Bye.